What are you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. How you doing? Oh, I gotta turn that thing off, don't I? What are you at? It's Paul from Wicked Acorn. Oh, wow. It's been a really busy time here at the Old Oak Tree at the Wicked Acorn Homestead. And what is it? What do we got going on here? There's a couple of things happening in the history of Sale. That's where I live. I live in Sale in Greater Manchester, and there's a couple of events, notable events in history that happened on this day in history. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. And oh, I'm so flustered. I was up till 5 o'clock in the morning night before last, and my sleep is all messed up now. So I'm not back to normal. I'm not on my normal schedule. I've been working on all these things for the upcoming Sale Makers Market, the last one before Christmas, the last one of the year. So I'm doing some mosaics for it. I'll show you those in a minute. I got some um, things here. I'll just show you. I get all the rejects. See, this is a broken one. It's got a little chip in it there. I make these coasters, mosaics. That's a mouse mat with the bee. The bee is the symbol of Manchester. And I get all the rejects. You see that? You have to flip the image before you print it. And I forgot to flip it. So that's a reject. And this one here. Can you see what that is? Can I flip the camera? Let's see. Uh, Edit, transform. There we go. That's what it's supposed to look like. So I did it. So that's a print on slate, a mosaic print on slate. It's a really useful coaster in this house anyway. It fits perfectly on the arm of the sofa so you can lay your coffee there. So I gotta switch that back now. How do I do that? Edit, transform, flip horizontal. There we go. So that is what happened this week in history. And where are we going next? We got our quiz. Wednesday is usually our quiz night here. And I just noticed that the quiz isn't there. Well, the quiz hasn't been updated to, usually it's updated on Wednesday, but it's not. So this is the week. And this is better actually because otherwise we'd be getting things that are happening, you know. Unfortunately, we don't have this day in history. But usually it's there on the 26th, but it's not. So November 18th to the 24th. Uh, who printed and published the first known book in English this week in 1477? William Blake, William Caxton, Johannes Gutenberg, Thomas Mallory. I know all those names, but why is my amp on its side? Because it fits that way. This is my amp over here. It just fits that way. It just fits on the ledge that way. It if it's it's a wedge shape like a monitor, so it won't fit on any other side than that. I can't put it on this side because I won't be able to access the buttons, and it won't fit on the angled part. Oh, you couldn't even see me then. The amp, Darren was asking me about my amp over here, and it will only fit on this side, on this ledge, which is where I keep it. It's a good place to keep it. It's just a convenient place to have it. I don't know the answer to this. I'm leaning between William Caxton and Thomas Mallory because I'm not really familiar with those names. I got it right, I guess. William Caxton. Who did President Thomas Jefferson commission to lead the first European expedition to the American West and Pacific coast? Oh, that was, I know the answer to that one. Well, I know who went off on it. It is Lewis and Clark. It's a lot of fun, man. It's Darren's talking about my amp again. It's it is it's amazing. Darren, you and I are about the same age, so you remember back in the day how big and cumbersome it was to go to a gig or a rehearsal. This thing is amazing. You've probably seen them out in the world in the street. I should be getting a commission for this. It's a Street Cube, battery powered and mains powered, either or. And it is really amazing because you can plug your mic in and your instrument, your guitar, whatever, keyboard, whatever you're playing. It's got a little stereo input so you can plug your iPhone or whatever in there if you like. And it's amazing. Amazing rig. It's got some nice effects on it. You know, delay and reverb, flanger, chorus, phaser, tremolo, all that great stuff, and different amp sounds. So it's great fun. It's a lot of fun, and it's amazing, and it's quite loud. You know, so I mean, back in the day, you'd have to drag all kinds of amps and PA and stuff to a rehearsal. Even, you know, just a small rehearsal, you'd need a lot of gear. Even if it was just a practice amp, you'd still need some kind of little PA to sing into, unless you're turned down really low and the drummer was playing with brushes or something, which happened quite a bit. But that thing is amazing. It really is truly amazing. It's pretty amazing that you can do that. It's electronics have just become so amazing. Who was Joe? Where was Joe Biden born this week in 1942? And I know the answer to this one because I hear people making fun of it all the time. That is Scranton, Pennsylvania. In 1642, Dutch explorer Abel Tasman, never heard of him, discovered Van Diemen's Land, which I have heard of. What is it now called? Van Diemen's Land. Is it New Zealand? I don't know. New Zealand. No, Tasmania. Which U.S. president gave the Gettysburg Address? So I know that one. That begins with 4 score and 7 years ago. Good for you, Darren. You got it correct. Um, I'm a bit ahead of you in time, so your answer shows up after I've moved on. um, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Thomas Jefferson, James Monroe. And of course, that's Abraham Lincoln. What is the name of the 1983 TV film about the effects of nuclear war watched by 100 million? We've talked about this several times. The Day After, The Day After Tomorrow, The China Syndrome, The Chain Reaction. And the British version was called Threads, and that came out before it. I've mentioned this several times. I don't know if you guys saw it over here in the UK, but it was. I don't remember much about this movie. I'm pretty sure it's called The Day After. Yes, it is. Which famous footballer scored his 1000th goal in 1969? Well, I'll leave this one up for you guys, and I'll talk about Threads because I don't know the answer. I don't know anything about football. Diego Maradona, Ronaldo, Wayne Rooney, Pele. So these are actually two other guys that have the one name, Ronaldo and Pele. Pele I've heard of, and Ronaldo I've heard of. Wayne Rooney I've heard of. Diego Maradona, I haven't heard that name. Pele, you are correct, sir. Charles Darwin on The Origin of Species, published in 1859, was based on findings from what ship's voyage? I know the answer to that one, too. Hello, Joe. It is the Dawn Treader. That's C.S. Lewis, isn't it? Endurance. What's endurance? Endeavor. I know these ships. I know the answer to this one is the Beagle. I'm just trying to figure out what the other ones are. I know these names as well, but Darwin's was the Beagle. In 2017, which world leader resigned after 37 years in power? Well, it wasn't Castro because he never resigned. Robert Mugabe, Hosni Mubarak, Akihito, or Fidel Castro. I don't know the answer to this one, but it wasn't Castro. I don't think Castro ever resigned, did he? Did he die? Did they ever acknowledge that he died? Joe says Mugabe. You are correct, sir. Who was the director of the 1923 film The Ten Commandments? 1923 film, The Ten Commandments. I have no idea, but I've never heard of it as a Chaplin film. Doesn't sound like a Buster Keaton film, and I don't think Fritz Lang. He was more animation, wasn't he? Buster Keaton was like slapstick humor, like stunts, crazy stunts. We watched one of his movies a while ago. What was the name of it? I can't remember the name of it, but the I'm thinking Cecil B. DeMille as well. Uh, what was the movie Buster Keaton movie we watched? It was it had the rocket, replica of the rocket Buster Keaton built for one of his films, and he was really into trains, And there's a really famous one where a train goes across a bridge and crashes into the river below. And that's a real train. It was the most expensive stunt ever in Hollywood up to that point in time. And for many, 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 many years, decades, it was the most expensive stunt ever pulled because it was a real train, real bridge. The bridge gets blown up and the train crashes into the river. Easy to find on YouTube. Buster Keaton's amazing. Charlie Chaplin, I don't think it's Charlie Chaplin. Everybody knows who Charlie Chaplin is. Yes, Cecil B. DeMille. Chaplin owned United Artists. Yes, he was one of the owners. And it was um, as the name implies, it was like a union, like a what do you guys call it here? Trade union. It was like a trade union. Was the idea behind it. Uh, so we got 9 out of 10. That's good. That's better than usual. Average score is 6.8. So with your guys' help, we did all right on that one because I wouldn't have known a lot of them. Pele is he was really big, wasn't he? I've heard of Pele only because well, no, he was in the news back in the day whenever he was popular. Uh, yes, I remember about Chaplin's body being stolen too. I remember something about that story. I don't recall what happened, but yes, now that you say it, it rings a bell. It's in my shit. uh, I've heard of skeletons in the closet, but Chaplin in the shed. There you go. So, the couple of things that happened this day in history, we're going to watch the Crossford Bridge 2 is the name of this video because something happened at Crossford Bridge this day in history. And I'm not going to tell you what it is, but this day in history, something happened at Crossford Bridge. So put in the comments if you think you know what it is. Something else happened in sail history on this day. Winifred Brown. I'm pretty sure it's Winifred Brown's birthday today. It popped up on my screen and I decided to yes, today is the anniversary of her birth. Winifred Brown, I never did finish part 2 of that because no one ever asked me to. I at the very end of the video, I say, if you want to see part 2, leave a comment, and no one ever did leave a comment saying where's part 2. Yeah, that's a safe guess, uh, but it's directly related to Crossford Bridge, if you can think of it. So we'll get into the video, and I'm going to show you a couple of more my mosaics as we go along here. I'll bring them over and put them on the. Oh, I don't have the split screen on this one. All right, I'll rig it up in a second.
Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. We're still in sail. Well, actually, I guess we're in Stretford right now, and we're still trying to figure out where the Crossford Bridge is. The River Mersey is the historic boundary between Cheshire and Lancashire. Surely, one end of the bridge is in Sale, and the other is in Stretford.
So something I have been um, wondering about is people talk about if you've seen this video before, I'm letting the cat out of the bag here with the video, but the boundary between uh, Cheshire and Lancashire, or any county or any division of land, is defined as the Mersey, right? So Lancashire and Cheshire, the southern boundary of Lancashire is the Mersey. What happens when the river moves, as rivers do all the time? They change course all the time. What happens? Like, we know what happens now because the boundary is not really defined by the river. It's defined by a geographic, coordinate. But back before coordinates, what happened back before GPS coordinates or OS maps and back before maps? Because it's always been the boundary, back to Mercia. When it was Mercia, it was a boundary. So you could people have done such thing. You could divert the river and reclaim or claim territory by diverting the river, couldn't you? But I guess that would be an act of war. Anyway, it's something I've wondered about before when rivers change course.
Surely one end of the bridge is in Sale and the other is in Stretford. This is Cross Street and this is Crossford Bridge. And right here, oh, this is interesting. BSS's. Those are boundary stones.
I'm just going to, I know next to nothing but Sale altering temple area. My expertise is Withy and surrounding area. I learned so much from your channel. I do have relatives around there. Excellent. Uh, yes, there's a big move afoot about Bagley Hall. Is that what it's called? Bagley Hall? Um, and it is, oh yeah, okay. Was it you that mentioned that the other night, or I think it was Darren mentioned um, the Red Beret? Or was that a different place, Darren? Out by the airport that you were talking about, wasn't it? Was that called Red Beret? Um, yeah, Bagley Hall, which is amazing. Um, absolutely amazing. I got a chance to go in there, and it's amazing. And anyway, that's another story for another day. Maybe we'll get somebody on to talk about it. Um it's yeah, it's an amazing place, and that's really tied up with your area, and the Wythenshawe Hall, of course. Great stories about that place as well.
S's. Those are boundary stones. In 1987, Norman Swain wrote, "Two ancient stones still exist at the edge of the footpath on Cross Street, and the faint inscriptions can still be made out. The one near the Crossfords pub reads, County Palatine of Lancaster, and the one near the garage reads, County Palatine of Chester." It's a good thing he wrote this when he did. The Crossfords pub wasn't much longer for this world. I spoke with Bill Sumner in Stretford, and he said the boundary stone was around here. He was present when contractors smashed it up and removed it. Despite his frantic phone calls to Trafford, no one bothered to come out, so we lost a historic boundary marker. The stone was about...
I'm just going to show you a few of these things as the video plays. But This is a mosaic. It's a real tile mosaic made with real tiles. And that's what, so there's all kinds of prints. They come in all different colors. And the coasters and whatnot. And you can get your name put on them and stuff too. So, Sailmakers Market every third Sunday of the month. I'm just gonna put these up like this. I'm not going to interrupt to show you these, but these are the few I've been working on the past week. So we'll go back to the video, and I'll just hold them up, and you can glance at them. But the big Christmas market is coming up, and that's the big one. Uh, that's where we pay for Christmas. For that's my Christmas, the Sailmakers Market. That's how I pay for my Christmas.
No one bothered to come out, so we lost a historic boundary marker. The stone was about 20 inches high and had markings for Stretford and Sale. It was made of red sandstone.
Sky's best ever.
Unfortunately, we have to skip through these adverts because if there's music in them, we get copyright claims on everything.
For Stretford and Sale. It was made of red sandstone. The Bridge Inn, where the short-lived Crossford pub was, now the site of TGI Fridays. In the left-hand corner, we can see 3 stones. I think the one on the far right would be the one Swain talked about, that read County Palatine of Lancaster. And the one on the left, you can just make out the letters O-R-D. Stretford? Could this be the one Bill Sumner remembers? As for the other one that read County Palatine of Chester, it should have been over here on this bit between the roads, but I don't hold much hope for finding it. That would have been the county border. There was a boundary stone there. It used to be next to the Crossford Turnpike Toll House, directly opposite the pub. So we're in the bit between the roads now, the median, I guess you call it, and the boundary stone on the opposite side would have been around here somewhere. But as I said, I don't hold much hope for finding it or any evidence of it.
So the boundary stone that Swain, this book by Swain is hello 1 2 3 4 £8 a month for premium. Yeah, but I get like 0.00000000001 for every time you watch one of these ads, don't you know? One of the ads on my channel. The boundary stone. So the one Swain was talking about, his Swain is this guy Norman Swain is kind of like the Bible of the history of Sale, I guess. And he mentions 2 boundary stones, and the 2 he's mentioning is not the one of which is not one I'm looking for here. But there should be one in this place as well, between the 2 roads there, that little piece of land between. There used to be a toll house there. That's probably before living memory, I think. Maybe in living memory, but before our time, that's for sure. So yeah, there would have been one on this side as well. According to OS Maps, there was one anyway.
of it. There's a little fence here to stop silly people from going down, falling in the Mersey, I guess. And I don't particularly want to go down there today because it's been rain for the past couple of weeks, and it's probably pretty slippery. And I actually looked at it from the other side, and there's no way to get anywhere sensible. And I believe this tree.
I'm going to interrupt the video to show this one because at least 50% of the people will get upset with this one in this town anyway. But there is a red one as well. But that one's really nice. I really like the different colors, the different blue colors in that one. Really nice. I'm pleased with that one. I sold one very much like this, but it only had two blues, two different color blues, and this one's got, I don't know, 3 or 4, and it looks quite nice. I like that one. Good evening, Hoggle.
The namesake of Sale, isn't it? Or vice versa. It's a pretty bridge. So we're over on the Stretford side of the bridge now.
I'm glad an ad came on there because my tea is gone. You like the bridges and canal? Yeah, I do too. It's one of the things that's of great interest to me. And what happens is I follow these stories, and that really is a nice bridge. That's the older side there. You can see through. It's difficult to get to that spot where I am there. It's not difficult, but you have to dodge traffic to get over there. It's from the other bridge, the other Crossford Bridge. I had so many great posters that got left back in Canada, and brother-in-law had them out going through them and had them laid out, and his basement flooded and they were all ruined. Very sad. And yeah, some really historic stuff, like Newfoundland history stuff, you know, theater posters and things like that. Things that are completely irreplaceable. It's really sad. But yes, I really do like doing these videos. It's something I need to find a way to do this and tie it into something, which I do a bit with this one, in more general interest, because you know there are 6 people in the world who find stories about Crossford Bridge interesting, you know, so you need to make it a little more global and tell the story of ooh, Interesting question, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's answered in this video. Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful bridge. Very well made, isn't it? But you can see through the other side. It's I don't know when the bridge was made. Um, it was widened. I can't remember the date, but it comes up in the next little bit there.
So we're over on the Stretford side of the bridge now, and I don't need to go crawling around next to riverbanks because there is no bank. It's a pretty steep drop there, and it's been raining so much that I'm sure it's all pretty wet and slippery. And we don't need to call out rescue teams to be saving this silly Canadian from the River Mersey. That's another interesting thing I noticed. In North America, I think we don't say River Mersey. Well, I guess we do say River Mersey, but the word river comes after, like it would be the Mersey River. Like the river I grew up next to was called the Exploits, and it was the Exploits River, not the River Exploits. And most, if not all, rivers are named that way. The river part comes after, rather than before, like it does here. Don't know.
So that is an interesting thing. I have not looked into that since, but it is an interesting thing. It's interesting that, and I'm pretty sure that's the way it is in all of North America that I can think of, right? It's I rearranged some things here, and this tape's coming off. You know, like the Mississippi River, the yeah, it's all, you know, the Chicago River. The river part comes after, and everything here in Britain is River Mersey, River Medlock. River comes first, and in North America it's reversed, which is not unusual because a lot of things are reversed, aren't they? But I wonder why. Is there a reason for that?
By the 18th century, the roads were in a sad state. The landowner was responsible for the upkeep of the roads.
So I really scrutinized these photos, and I can't tell, but that boundary stone, the other boundary stone, which is gone, long gone, would have been next to this Turnpike Toll House.
Able-bodied men were required to provide up to 6 days' work per year to repair roads. This didn't work out too well, so toll houses were set up. There was one here from the mid-1700s to the late 1800s. The River Mersey often broke its banks. One account I read said the bridge in was below the level of the road, and the water occasionally rose to the first floor. If it was, this area seems to have been built up to fortify the riverbank. Taking that into account, the boundary stones would have been moved or buried. John Brodie took out 51 consecutive licenses at the Bridge Inn. Miller worked at the toll bar for 13 years. He would often hear a call of, "Ship ahoy!" from John Brodie. This meant that the River Mersey had broken its banks, and Mr. Brodie was once again a prisoner in his bedroom, as the river had risen to the first floor. Release him. So I just noticed this huge tree stump behind TGI Fridays here, and it's quite large, and it was cut down quite some time ago. I'm going to have to check those photos and see if there's any trees. I don't recall any, but maybe there are some trees in the photos to give us a little reference point. That's a big tree. Was a big tree.
I really miss those boots. I have to get those boots resoled. The the soles are worn, the heels worn off. I guess I scuff my heels when I walk. They're great boots. Um, what are they called? Blundstones, Australian boots. They're really, really comfortable, good work boots. You know, steel toed or whatever, safety toe, whatever you call them. You don't call them steel toe boots here. That's what we call them. Just generically call them steel toe boots. What's the name you call them here? There's a different name you call them, but generically we call them steel toe boots. I got to get through the advert. That's what I'm doing. It is that's where George Best. Yes, I keep hearing his name all the time, and I know who he is through hearing about him locally, but not somebody I knew of back in the day. I'm not a football fan, and a lot of that stuff didn't cross the pond. Football / soccer isn't really big in North America.
Was a big tree. The Bridge Inn was around here on the south side of the Mersey. It was a favorite place for the people of Sale, especially after hours. It fell under the jurisdiction of Lancashire, where drinking hours were a half hour later than Cheshire.
Just want to go back to, I love this photo. I love this Mrs. here. The apron, chatting with the boys on the bicycle there. This is Cross Street here. Where on Cross Street, I've forgotten. Is this? No, I don't remember. I don't remember where this is on Cross Street. But I love this woman here.
Jurisdiction of Lancashire, where drinking hours were a half hour later than Cheshire. There are still stories of people nipping in for one or two more at the end of the night. Wait, what? The Bridge Inn was...
Stopped it there, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go back. This is a really interesting thing, Darren, you'll find about boundaries. Not something you would have encountered in the Wythenshawe, Bagley area back in the day, and you'd probably be too young to appreciate such a thing. But yeah, the drinking hours were a half hour later at this pub. And you'll find out why in a second.
For one or two more at the end of the night. Wait, what? The Bridge Inn was in Lancashire? So it is. This dashed line is a county border, and the border jogs out around the Bridge Inn. The dots indicate it's also a parish border. I think we found an answer. The Crossford Bridge is in Stretford, or at the very least Lancashire, or at least it used to be. Nowadays, both Sale and Stretford are in Trafford, which is in the county of Greater Manchester. But that's a story for another video. The explanation for this goes back to something that happened long before the toll bar was put in place to fund road upkeep. It's the classic case of a guy building a fence, And his neighbor asks, "Why are you building the fence?" while he arrogantly says, "I'm not going to help pay for it." Of course, the proper response to this is, "That's why I'm building the fence." It just goes to show when you have something that's on a border, it's difficult to get both parties to pay for its upkeep. The Statute of Bridges of 1530 solved this. It made one of the counties, Lancashire in this case, responsible for maintaining the bridge and 100 yards of the road either end of it. So let's take a stroll back Cross Street where there's something very interesting.
So that's why I brought up earlier about rivers changing course, because a lot of people claim that the reason the pub was in Stretford is because the river changed course. Now, I don't believe that's so. It's more likely the Statute of Bridges, because I think everything predates that. I think the Crossford Bridge predates any of that stuff. So yeah, the Crossford Bridge predates the Crossford Pub, so that doesn't make sense. So it's not about the river changing course, but it is an interesting thing of note, and it's a thing that came up. We were talking about the mill in Ashton-upon-Mersey, and the weir at what do they call it? I can't remember the name they call it, but the weir just before the mill at Ashton-upon-Mersey. When they built the weir, they diverted the river, and the diversion of the river exposed the mill. The mill was buried, and they diverted the river, and it exposed the old mill, the old Ashton-upon-Mersey mill that was built. Well, there's records of it from the 1340s. So it probably never would have been found, but also it would have remained intact, and now it's getting washed away. We're trying to save the millstone, and we're going to get the guys on, and we're going to get the Mersey millers here some night and have a chat about the mill, because we're trying to save the millstone, and that's all still in the works, trying to rescue the millstone.
So let's take a stroll back Cross Street where there's something very interesting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100. Bill Sumner was right. The boundary stone would have been around here somewhere.
I'm going to switch this because that's out of sync. Hopefully this is still going to work here. I'm just turning off Wi-Fi and putting it on I forgot to do that beforehand. Put it on this Ethernet cable thing. It's not really Ethernet cable, but kind of. This bit of video is a little confusing, and I should redo it. When I was walking, here's Crossford Bridge here. Can you see my pointer? Yeah, here's Crossford Bridge here. And I'm pacing off, and in the background you see the TGI Fridays sign, and it makes it look like I've gone past the TGI Fridays sign, but the TGI Fridays sign is back here before it or after it, depending which way you're going. The boundary stone that would have said County Palatine of Lancashire would have been here somewhere. right in front of TGI Fridays. And it looks a little confusing the way I showed it there, because that TGI Fridays sign being in the background, like there. So I'm right in front of, that's the exit, I guess, of TGI Fridays. And so it looks like I've gone past it, but I'm in front of it, actually.
Right, the boundary stone would have been around here somewhere. This has been identified as one of the boundary stones, and I think indeed it is a boundary stone, but not the one that would read County Palatine of Lancaster. This dotted line is a parish border, though I'm not sure what parish it would have been then. Ashton-upon-Mersey probably. And you can see there would be one on the other side for the bordering parish of Sale perhaps. It's too far away from the border to be a boundary stone for a county.
So I've done a video about this where I go and I'll put it back up. This actually said, I went and did charcoal rubbing of it and all that, and that no success there. But it says County Palatine of Chester, County Palatine of Chester. And I've since heard somebody say, and it's something I have to look into, that this boundary stone marks 7 miles outside Manchester, and that was the limits that you could build a nonconformist church. I'm not certain about this now, so this is all taken with a grain of salt. You couldn't build a nonconformist church 7 miles from Manchester at this time in history. So outside of this, you could build a nonconformist church for this specific time in history, and that's what the purpose of this boundary stone is, apparently. I haven't checked into that, so don't take that as gospel, but it makes sense. It does make sense.
Not too long ago, people knew where all these boundary stones were because of a practice called beating the bounds. Now this is such an interesting subject, I'm going to do a standalone video on it. Boundary stones are meant to stand out, but it is just a rock after all. Pretty easy to miss, isn't it?
Another advert. 0.00000. Sale was Wesleyan. Yeah, there's interesting little connection I found with the Wesleyan church that was on School Road there when I was researching the Ryder Cup. The Samuel Ryder, the guy, the founder of the Ryder Cup, was born and lived most of his life in Sale. He wasn't born in Sale, but he lived most of his life, moved here when he was 3. And his father is buried in Ashton-upon-Mersey Cemetery, the Ryder Cup. And they had a seed business down the canal there off Britannia Road, down that way. the church, there was a like a youth club there called the Magic Lantern Society, and they used to show slides with a lantern. I guess the lantern was the light that projected the slides somehow. I guess they used the lantern to project slides, and the guy, I can't remember the story now. It's in the video about Samuel Ryder. Uh, the projectionist guy was involved in he murdered a cop or something. It's some kind of crazy story, which I haven't really looked into yet, so I don't have it all memorized, or it's not in my brain because I haven't looked into it. Just I just know that he was involved in some grisly murder or something. Um, Contemporary of Samuel Ryder, anyway, at the same church on School Road there.
But it is just a rock after all. Pretty easy to miss, isn't it? In a time when written records were meaningless to most people, once a year, usually on Ascension Day, the people would beat the bounds. They would walk the borders to instill in their minds where all the boundaries were, an important activity in a time before maps were common. When they came to a boundary stone, they would inspect it, say a prayer, and tap it with canes or sticks. A really interesting story, so keep an eye out for that one. Some things are worth holding on to. The term cross ferry was used here and can be traced back to the year 1367. The earliest records of a bridge here are from 1538. But do you really think the Romans built a road all the way from London to Chester to here, only to have to swim across this bit? The Romans couldn't exist here without the road linking their forts at Chester and Manchester. They had amphitheaters and villas with mosaic tile floors with in-floor heating in this country. A bridge across the Mersey is pretty elementary stuff. There had to have been a Roman bridge here. I'm so certain of it based on no evidence whatsoever that I'm surprised that there hasn't been some sort of fortification found here to defend it. It would have been such an important piece of Roman infrastructure. So the bridge was...
So I have found some evidence of such a thing that I haven't looked into yet, but I have found evidence that there was a fort alongside a Roman fort, fortlet, we'll call it, fortlet, alongside the Mersey on the Lancashire side. Well, it's both Lancashire sides there, isn't it? On the Stretford side. It's on a map. It's marked on a map. But there's a lot more to that story than I can divulge. 1907, the newer part of the bridge was built, obviously.
It would have been such an important piece of Roman infrastructure. So the bridge was widened in 1907, and you can see that there's construction underneath. And just take note of these ribbed stones, I guess you'd call them.
So a picture's worth 1,000 words, but there you go. There's one of those stones. I don't know why it's there. There isn't a missing one. So I've wondered where it came from. Was it an extra one? Was it one that fell out and got replaced? Anyway, it's obviously one of those ribbed stones that we saw up top, but there doesn't seem to be a missing one. Was it an extra? Was it a replacement? Don't know.
Some kind of carved stone there. And it looks like this bridge has been widened as well. You can see two different types of construction there. There was never any Battle of Crossford Bridge that we know of, but it did play a role in war. When Lord Strange came to lay siege to Manchester during the Civil War, he crossed the Mersey at Ashton-on-Mersey Ford. That could only be here, at the Crossford Bridge.
So back when I made this video, Rick Ainsworth and I were talking one day, and he said there might have been another Crossford Bridge. He said, I know where there's a place where there's the remains of a bridge. And as it turned out, anyway, that we were talking about going to this place. He used to fish at this place, and we never did get there. And subsequently, John contacted me, and John Harvey, who found the Ashton-upon-Mersey mill, and that's what it was. So Rick knew this place existed, but he thought it was an old Crossford Bridge. So it's just downstream from Crossford Bridge a little ways. And Rick was thinking that maybe this was where Lord Strange crossed the Mersey. But no, it was the mill of Ashton-upon-Mersey. So yeah, interesting how all that tied together.
That could only be here, at the Crossford Bridge.
On the
Always confused that the road was named Washway Road because of the Mersey flooding, yet the bridges. Yes, that is confusing, isn't it? It's a weird thing. But I guess I've wondered about that cross street Washway Road myself many times. Was it always cross street in Sale, or did that get changed when they did all that road construction, or was it always cross street, that section? I think it changes name right in front of the Bull's Head is where it changes name. So yeah, it's interesting that your point there about Washway Road and Cross Street. That was my only guess, was that the Sale portion was Washway and it became Cross Street at Stretford, because it's strange that it changes names, randomly in front of the Bull's Head pub. There's no reason for it to change names there, but it does. I got to get through this advert here. Should have been doing that while I was yammering on. Now I got to wait for the skip button. Yeah, it's funny that it has that name change, but roads in St. John's back in Newfoundland change names like that too, randomly in the middle of nowhere.
Here, at the Crossford Bridge. In 1745, when Charles Edward was marching south, the government, to bar his advance, ordered Crossford Bridge to be destroyed. The command was carried out by the Liverpool Blues, part of the English volunteer forces raised to resist the Jacobite rebellion. Miss Byram in her journal mentions on the 26th of November 1745 that the pulling up of the bridge at Cross Street was that day being proceeded with. In 15...
So there we go. That's this day in history. So on the 26th of November, what was it, 1745, they tore down Crossford Bridge. And anyway, I won't get into the story of it because I think I cover it here. But Miss Byram's journal, that's something to look into. She was a young girl at the time of this journal entry. And Byram, there's a Byram Street, and he was a magistrate or something. So they were kind of a well-to-do family, I guess. I haven't looked into it a great deal, but her journal is quite fascinating, covers, you know, this extraordinary point in history, this period in history is very interesting. So it's great that her journal survived and there's records of these things.
Of the bridge at Cross Street was that day being proceeded with. In 1533, John Leland was sent by Henry VIII into Lancashire to search for ancient writings in the monasteries before Henry started pulling them down. He writes, "I rode over Mersey Water by a great bridge of timber called Crossford Bridge. In 1577, the bridge was being taken care of, and the people of Manchester petitioned the Queen to build a stone bridge. The work was estimated at £200, and Manchester donated £40 above this to see it done."
So that is interesting. I'm just going to go back to that because I've looked for where I don't know where I found this note. I haven't found it in my notes where I got that citation there.
And Manchester donated a bridge taken care of called Crossford Bridge. In 1577, the bridge was being taken care of, and the people of
So 1577, the bridge was being taken care of.
Manchester petitioned the Queen to build a stone bridge. The work was estimated at £200, and Manchester donated £40 above this to see it done. The bridge has been torn down.
So somewhere around there, I can't remember where I found this note.
Being taken care of, and the people of Manchester. I rode over Mersey Water by a great bridge of timber called Crossford Bridge. In 1577, the bridge was being taken care of, and the people of Manchester petitioned the Queen to build a stone bridge. The work was estimated at £200, and Manchester donated £40 above this to see it done. The bridge has been torn down, swept away by the Mersey, rebuilt and widened many times over the years. No matter what happens, it keeps coming back. The Stone Age people, the Romans, the football players we worship today, and even that guy that pushes the trolley around. They all crossed over the Mersey here. We've had this version for a long time now. We don't think about bridges often, but they're celebrated in stories and songs because they're our link to the world and the world's link to us. So I'm just getting off here at Dane Road. It's a little closer to our destination, and I was halfway to the tram stop and I forgot my mask and I had to go back. What a pain in the arse. So, does anybody remember the name of this bridge? Might that have been a nameplate?
So there you go. Interesting. Whitesbridge, yes. And so this, obviously this video was built in the This video was built in the before times, back when we had to wear masks to go on the tram. And so White's Bridge is named after Dr. Charles White. There's videos about all this on the channel if you go looking for them. And he is famous for the Royal Manchester Infirmary and St. Mary's Hospital and the Manchester Mummy. And the Manchester Mummy was Hannah Beswick, and she was terrified of being buried alive. So anyway, quite a long story that I've been trying to make a video about for many years, and it's nearly done. There's one more missing piece of the puzzle I want to find before I put it out to make sure I haven't got any mistakes in there. But Hannah Beswick, yes, there's lots of talk of the elephants, and this video that we just watched is called Crossford Bridge 2, TOO, but it's 2, TWO as well. There's another video about Crossford Bridge, I think plague in Sale and Stretford. I can't remember the name, but if you search Crossford Bridge, you'll find it. And the elephant, they were elephants that were in a traveling circus kind of thing, and they were in Sale celebrating the end of the Boer War in 1905, and that's how they ended up. One of them got sick and was taken to the vet on Dane Road, and subsequently died and buried somewhere in Sale. But Hannah Beswick, the Manchester Mummy, became the Manchester Mummy. Same time period as this. Another story of Hannah Beswick is the Jacobites. She was frightened that the Jacobites were going to come, so she buried all the family gold somewhere, and it's never been found. And apparently her ghost guards it. So there's all kinds of crazy stories like that, but that's the same time period. Hannah Beswick and the Jacobites coming through Manchester. So very interesting stuff. So that's this day in history. Crossford Bridge was torn down by the Jacobites. There you go. That's this day in history. It's also Winifred Brown's birthday, so I don't know the name of that one, but if you search Winifred Brown on the channel, you'll probably find it. And that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. All right, Sailmakers Market, every third Sunday of the month. It's the last one of the year, the last one before Christmas. Third Sunday of December, the 21st, I think it is, this one coming up. Yes, the 21st of December. So be there, be square, and we'll see you in the next one.